Part 64. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 671. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. The bullets were flying around, but Sanji quickly approached the elephant. Sanji finally rushed under the elephant. He pointed his right leg at the elephant's belly and kicked straight up. This leg is mixed with the huge power of the giant race. Kick against etiquette. Sanji kicked the elephant hard in the stomach. The elephant's body flew up, then somersaulted in mid-air before falling to the ground. Boom! The elephant fell to the ground on all fours. It smashed the cavalry on its back into meatloaf. The elephant also suffered a heavy blow and passed out. Sanji took one look at the elephant, then continued to rush towards the other elephant. Sanji quickly rushed to the side of the elephant. The elephant is equipped with a small cannon on its back. Open fire and kill him. Boom! A shell was fired from a small cannon mounted on the elephant's back. Sanji jumped up and kicked the cannonball back. The shell hit the small cannon on the back of the elephant again. Boom! A violent explosion sounded. The small artillery piece and the two cavalrymen manning the artillery were blown away. The last cavalryman who was in charge of driving the elephant was left at the head of the elephant. The cavalryman trembled with fright when he saw Sanji, but he reacted quickly. "Tamp you to death." The cavalryman rode the elephant towards Sanji. The elephant raised its two thick front legs and stomped on Sanji. "Okay, let's see who has better leg skills." Sanji slammed his right leg at the elephant's leg. Boom! There was a loud noise as Sanji's leg and the elephant's huge leg struck together. But Sanji's strength is superior, kicking the elephant to stand up straight. The cavalryman driving the elephant was extremely shocked, but he was now certain that he could not effectively deal with Sanji. The elephant was back on all fours and was about to flee. But how can the elephant's speed avoid Sanji? Sanji quickly jumped on the elephant's back. He rushed to the elephant's head, aimed his right leg at the cavalryman and swept across. Boom! What? With a burst of screams, the cavalryman was kicked dozens of meters away by Sanji. Sanji starts to steer the elephant on the elephant's head at this time. "Okay, let me see how powerful this thing is." Sanji begins to ride the elephant. When Sanji started to drive the elephant, other people also attacked the elephant troops of the Fifth Army. "Ahaha, look at me." Luffy rushed out and attacked an elephant. Luffy standing in front of an elephant. "What happened? Does this kid want to be crushed?" said the cavalryman driving the elephant in surprise. Luffy looked at the elephant that was charging straight towards him, and stretched his arms behind him. Rubber rockets. After Luffy stretched his arms for a long time, he suddenly struck forward. The cavalryman controlling the elephant was horrified to see Luffy's hands hitting him at high speed. At this moment, his whole body seemed to freeze in fear. Even the eyes of the elephant he controlled were full of biological instinctive fear. Boom! Luffy's hands hit the elephant's head hard. The force of this blow was astonishingly powerful, and the huge body of the accelerating elephant rolled directly to the side after being hit. It was like a carriage traveling at a high speed suddenly rolled over. The cavalry on the elephant's back were also crushed into meat paste. "This isn't cool enough, keep going." Luffy continued to attack the other elephant. The cavalry on the back of this elephant is already prepared. Aim at the guy in the straw hat and fire. Two cavalrymen with machine guns on the elephant's back pointed their machine guns at Luffy and fired violently. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The dense bullets shot at Luffy. Luffy was attacked by a barrage of bullets, but he used the properties of the rubber man to deflect the bullets away. The bounced bullets hit the elephant. However, the three cavalrymen on the elephant's back were all wearing steel protective gear, and their vitals were protected, successfully resisting most of the damage. The elephant's skin was also hit by bullets, but the elephant's skin is very hard, basically it is difficult for bullets to damage it. The elephant troops of the 5th Corps are not using ordinary elephants, but purchased elephants named eland elephants from an island country in the South China Sea. The bodies of eland elephants are stronger than ordinary elephants. It is also easier to tame, its skin is harder, and ordinary bullets cannot cause effective damage. The elephant also started charging towards Luffy under the control of the cavalry. "Kill him!" roared the cavalry riding the elephant. "Ow!" The elephant growled and wrapped its trunk around Luffy. "Wow!" Luffy's body was wrapped around the elephant's trunk. "Okay, squeeze him to death," said the cavalry riding the elephant. The elephant squeezed Luffy hard with its trunk. But Luffy's body became slender because of the extrusion. "Haha, what a comfortable massage," Luffy said cheerfully. Even the huge strength of this elephant's trunk can't help Luffy. Luffy looked into the elephant's eyes at this time. Rubber pistols. Luffy's fists hit the elephant's eyes respectively, and his arms also stretched rapidly. Dong dong. There were two loud noises, and the elephant's eyes were hit by Luffy's fists. "Ow!" The elephant roared in pain. Its huge nose released, and Luffy fell back to the ground. But at this time, Luffy will not stop. Luffy jumped up suddenly, and jumped more than 10 meters into the air with one jump. Rubber spear. Luffy kicked his feet downward from the air. His feet were like two spears stabbing the cavalry on the elephant's head. Boom! With a loud bang, Luffy kicked the cavalry on the elephant's head with both feet. The cavalryman was kicked away by the enormous force of Luffy's feet. The cavalryman continued to fly far amidst the screams. After the trooper was kicked away, Luffy landed on the elephant's head. He looked again at the two enemies on the back of the elephant, who were operating a machine gun. But they were all trembling, because they knew very well that Luffy was not afraid of machine gun bullets at all. "Don't worry, you'll be fine if you just get out," Luffy said very naturally. The two enemies froze. "Ah, run quickly." The two men quickly rolled off the elephant's back and staggered away. After eliminating the enemy cavalry on the elephant, Luffy quickly looked at the elephant at his feet. Pirate plant fruit. Pirate plant fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 672. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Although the elephant was very angry because its eyes were attacked just now, Luffy's two punches directly punched the elephant into a pair of giant panda eyes. But creatures themselves have a fearful nature, and the powerful strength shown by Luffy makes this elephant irresistible. The attack of the elephant itself can be said to be helpless to this rubber man. "Okay, I'm not interested in you. You run away quickly." Luffy waved gently and jumped off the elephant. The elephant seemed to have narrowly escaped death, and ran away quickly. After defeating two elephants one after another, Luffy suddenly found two more elephants charging towards him. "Attack together and kill him," said the cavalry riding the two elephants. The two elephants quickly rushed towards Luffy, and Luffy was quickly approached by the two elephants. "Come on both ends together." Luffy clenched his fists a little more and continued fighting. The two elephants rushed towards Luffy quickly. One of them is equipped with a grenade gun on the back, and the other is equipped with a flamethrower on the back. Boom 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 boom. The grenade gun aimed at Luffy and continuously fired powerful grenades. Luffy was hit, and his body suddenly exploded violently. These grenades use a collision detonation fuse, so Luffy can't rebound at all. The cavalry on the back of another elephant used a flamethrower to shoot at Luffy. Call. The fierce flames shot towards Luffy, covering Luffy in the flames. It hurts and feels so hot. Luffy, who had been beaten down just now, ran wildly in pain. The two elephants continued to chase Luffy under the control of the cavalry, and the weapons on the elephant's back continued to attack Luffy. "Don't stop, keep attacking. Until you kill him." The cavalry riding the two elephants pursued Luffy relentlessly. Luffy ran wildly enduring pain and burns, but this finally aroused Luffy's anger. "Okay, you bastards." Luffy turned around sharply, and he rushed towards one of the elephants quickly and desperately. This elephant has a grenade gun on its back. Without saying a word, Luffy directly used the rubber stretching ability of his arm to bring himself to the back of the elephant. The faces of the cavalry on the back of the elephant became terrified. Rubber degree machine gun. Luffy quickly indiscriminately covered and attacked the surrounding area with both hands. Dong dong dong. Luffy knocked away all three of the elephant's horsemen. The three cavalrymen fell heavily on the nearby ground. Luffy then punched the grenade gun again and flew out. After taking care of the enemy cavalry on this elephant, Luffy quickly extended his arm to the back of the other elephant. Luffy used the telescopic ability of his arms to bring himself to the back of the elephant. "Beat you to death." Luffy clenched his right fist violently, and then his right arm spun like a twist. Rubber rifle. Luffy punched out with his right fist, and at the same time his right arm spun, driving the right fist to spin. Clang. Luffy's punch hit the flamethrower like a cannonball. The flamethrower itself has a large tank of chemicals, and this blow shatters the tank. The flammable chemicals inside flowed out quickly. At the same time, the ignition device of the flame spray gun also failed. Ah, not good. As soon as Luffy saw something bad, he quickly avoided it. Luffy quickly jumped off the elephant's back. Then the flamethrower on the elephant's back exploded quickly. Boom. With a loud bang, the chemical agent in the flamethrower tank exploded rapidly. A huge fire broke out after the canister exploded. This huge flame enveloped the entire elephant. Ow! What? Elephants engulfed in flames are roaring. The three cavalrymen above were howling in pain. Luffy looked at the burning elephants and cavalry, breathed a sigh of relief and said, "I finally let out my bad breath." Luffy continued to throw himself into the fight. Rog wore walnut armor and used two wooden pile air cannons in his hands to deal with the elephant troops. An elephant charges toward Roger. The wooden pile air cannons on Rog's hands suck in a large amount of air and pressurize it, and then prepare to shoot. The two stake air cannons were aimed at the cavalry on the elephant's head by Rog. Boom boom boom. Two streams of air cannon air shot out from the two wooden pile air cannons, hitting the cavalryman responsible for controlling the elephant. What? With a scream, the cavalryman was knocked down. However, the two cavalrymen on the back of the elephant, who were manipulating weapons, hurried to the head and steered the elephant urgently. Rog also quickly recharged the two stake air cannons in both hands. "It's time for you to go to the west." The two stake air cannons in Rog's hands were aimed at a cavalryman respectively, and fired out powerful air currents again. Boom boom boom. Both cavalrymen fell from the elephant after being hit. After knocking down all the cavalrymen on the elephant hurriedly left the fighting area. For Rog, these elephant troops can actually win as long as they kill the enemy cavalry. Boom. Suddenly a rocket hit Roger. Rog was quickly enveloped in the explosion. Fortunately, the walnut armor, which was as hard as steel, successfully helped Rog resist the damage of the explosion. "Damn it, who is falling to the ground?" Roger looked around after the explosion. "I saw a quadruple heavy-duty rocket launcher on the back of an elephant. Just now, the cavalry on the back of the elephant attacked Rog with a heavy rocket launcher." Seeing that Rog was still not killed, the cavalry on the elephant's back aimed at Rog again. "Okay, if one doesn't work, fire 3 rockets in a row." The cavalry manipulating the quadruple heavy rocket launchers attacked again. Boom 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 boom. 3 consecutive rockets were launched and flew towards Rog. The 3 rockets were extremely fast, and Rog was hit quickly. Boom 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 boom. Rog rolled out after being hit and rolled on the ground several times before stopping. The firepower that this elephant is equipped with is still very brutal. Roger stood up again. He looked at the walnut armor on his body, and there were many cracks on it. However, the walnut armor is still basically intact. Rog looked at the elephant with 4 heavy rocket launchers on its back. "Okay, it's you." Rog began to rush towards the heavily armed elephant. At this time, the cavalry on the back of this heavy-fired elephant were reloading the quadruple heavy rocket launchers, but Rog rushed over faster. Pirate Plant Fruit. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee Er A Dream. Chapter 673. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. However, after Rog was hit by the rockets just now, the 2 stake air cannons on his hands were all destroyed. Now Rog must use a new weapon. Rog quickly took out the giant wooden hand stake. He wore the stake on his right arm. Rog concentrated the power of the plant fruit in his body, causing a giant wooden hand to quickly grow from the front of the wooden pile. The giant wooden hand quickly became huge, but Rog did not make it too big. Because the creation of the giant tree dragon previously consumed a large amount of plant fruit power, and a fierce battle would continue, so now we cannot consume too much plant fruit power. A tree-like arm grows from the front of the wooden stake. This arm is as thick as a wooden barrel, and its hands can hold people. Go to hell. Rog clenched his fist with the hand of the giant tree, and aimed at the quadruple heavy-duty rocket launcher on the back of the elephant and punched it. Boom. Punch hard. This punch directly destroyed the 4-pack heavy rocket launcher and killed 2 cavalrymen. Even the elephant was hit hard, lying on the ground. Rog raised the fist of the giant wooden hand again and aimed it at the elephant's head. The cavalryman responsible for driving the elephant looked at the fist of the giant tree hand in horror. Boom. The giant wooden hand punched the cavalry into a meatloaf. Rog used the successive attacks of the giant wooden hand to kill all the cavalry on the elephant. Although the elephant was not completely killed, at least it was not threatened without the control of cavalry. After knocking down the elephant equipped with 4 heavy rocket launchers, 2 more strings of bullets were fired. Roger looked at the enemy, and saw 2 elephants attacking him. These 2 elephants are equipped with heavy machine guns on their backs. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. 2 dense bullet beams were fired at Rog. The walnut armor on Rog's body was crackled and sparked for a while. These elephants are still very powerful weapons, with high mobility and strength. To deal with them, we must rely on this giant wooden hand. Rog manipulated his giant wooden hand and said. 2 elephants rushed over. Rog first controlled the giant wooden hand to grab the trunk of the elephant on the right side. Ow! The elephant's trunk was grabbed by Roger, and it howled in pain. But Rog continued to attack violently. He grabbed the elephant's trunk with his giant wooden hand, and quickly brought the elephant up like a meteor hammer. The target of the attack was naturally the elephant on the left. Rog manipulated the giant wooden hand to throw the elephant to the elephant on the left. The cavalry on the elephant on the left saw this horrible scene, but it was too late to escape. Boom! With a loud bang, the 2 elephants collided. With the power of the giant tree hand, Rog successfully wiped out the 2 elephants with 1 blow. Okay, continue to deal with other enemies. Rog continued to throw himself into the battle. In the battle with the elephant troops, Zoro appeared to be as lightning fast as a samurai sword, killing the enemy. An elephant charged towards Sauron, and Sauron charged towards it head-on without fear. The cavalry driving the elephant looked at Sauron arrogantly, and soon the elephant he was driving was about to knock Sauron into the air or crush him flat. After Zoro approached the elephant, he suddenly cut out the Hideo Yizawan in his hand. Puff! The elephant's long trunk was cut off abruptly by Sauron. After cutting off the elephant's long trunk, the elephant howled in pain. The cavalry riding the elephant was shocked. In his opinion, Sauron was able to cut off the long trunk of an elephant with such a single knife. He was really a powerful swordsman. Don't panic, elephant, quickly stab this guy to death with your tusks. The cavalry driving the elephant hurriedly ordered. Ow! With a high-pitched sound, the elephant quickly turned from panic to anger. The elephant chased Sauron again, this time using two huge white tusks to stab Sauron. Elephant tusks are huge and sharp, and have the ability to pierce objects. Sauron quickly dodged, and then he drew Onitsu from the scabbard at his waist while he was in motion. Okay, come on. Sauron holds Hideo Yizawan tightly in his right hand, and Swezu in his left hand. And this elephant whose long trunk had just been cut off was in a state of berserk, rushing desperately towards Sauron. One strong force and two strong force. Sauron gathered strength in his arms, and his two arms suddenly became very strong, and the muscles protruding out were as huge as coconuts. It was as if Sauron's arms turned into those of a King Kong at this moment. In Sauron's eyes, the elephant gets closer. Two strong force cuts. Sauron clasped Hideo Yizawan and Swezu with both arms, and slashed across. These two samurai swords are now mixed with King Kong-like strange power. Chiang Chiang. Hideo Yizawan and Shueji cut off the two tusks of the elephant. How is it possible? The cavalry riding the elephant said in shock. He couldn't even imagine that the elephant's hard tusks would be cut off like this by Sauron. And each ivory was chopped off with a single hand using a katana. But just as he was shocked, Sauron suddenly jumped in front of him. Before he could react, a cold light passed by his neck, and the cavalryman's head flew up. Sauron stepped over the body whose head had not yet landed. He quickly went to the back again, and stabbed two cavalrymen manipulating small artillery twice again. Puff puff. The knives of Hideo Yizawan and Shuezo each pierced the throat of an enemy. Zoro quickly drew out two samurai swords, and then jumped off the elephant's buttocks. It's pretty good. After landing, Zoro turned and looked at the elephant again. The slash just now made the elephant completely terrified, and it ran away quickly, while the headless corpse of the cavalryman at the head was still holding the reins. After Sauron successfully killed 3 more cavalrymen on the elephant, he continued to fight. Another elephant rushed towards Sauron. But this elephant is equipped with a flamethrower on its back. Aim at the green-haired swordsman and spray. The 2 cavalry on the elephant's back manipulated the flamethrower to violently spray flames at Sauron. Hoo-hoo! A powerful beam of flame shot out towards Sauron. Although the range of the flamethrower is not as good as that of machine guns and artillery, it still has a range of more than 10 meters. Facing the burning of the flames, Sauron fled in an emergency. Don't let him run away, keep chasing him. The cavalry who rode the elephant continued to pursue Sauron with the elephant. At the same time, the flamethrower gun on the elephant's back continued to spray flames towards Sauron. Pirate Plant Fruit. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 674. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Sauron was constantly fleeing, but he quickly pulled Shuezo out of the scabbard at his waist. Zoro took Shuezo in his mouth. Now Sauron is holding Hideo Yizawan tightly in his right hand, and Gish in his left hand, with Shuezo in his mouth. Zoro concentrated all his strength and swung all 3 samurai swords together. 3 blades tornado. Sauron's 3 samurai swords set off a storm of sword energy, forming a tornado of sword energy. A tornado of sword energy blew towards the elephant. Sauron used the tornado to control his strength this time. The sword energy was not too strong, but it was enough to blow back the flames from the opponent's flame spray gun. The 3 cavalrymen on the elephant saw that the flames they shot were blown back by the tornado of sword energy. Crap! The 3 cavalrymen shouted in horror. Flames enveloped the elephant along with its 3 horsemen. Ow! The elephant burned by the flames also howled in pain. The elephant began to run wildly aimlessly, and the 3 cavalrymen on its back struggled painfully. Then the cavalry were burned to death in the fire, and the elephant ran in pain. The elephant bumped into two elephants. But this is not over yet. The flames burned the flammable chemical agent tank of the flame spray gun on the elephant's back just now, triggering the martyrdom explosion again. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded. Because the explosion and combustion of those flammable chemicals triggered a larger-scale flame that engulfed all three elephants in flames. Ow oh oh! The three elephants howled and struggled desperately, but these flammable chemicals were sticky and could not be removed from their bodies. This caused the three elephants to burn to death in agony. Zorro looked at this terrifying scene and breathed a sigh of relief. Fire is such a terrible weapon. Sauron said calmly. In addition to Rog, Luffy, Sanji, and Zorro, Mont Blanc, Man-Ape, and Orangutan also fought hard against the elephant force. The core of the three Saruyama United Army fought hard with their fists and feet. Although they were not as good as Roger and Luffy, the three of them fought together and knocked down elephants one by one. Thanks to the hard work of everyone, more than elephants were knocked down in a row. The leader of the Drakkar army, who was concentrating on watching the battle on the battlefield, saw his own bad situation, and he was also frightened for a while. What a powerful enemy we are fighting! The head of the Drakkar army said in surprise. After Grandet's death, he quickly followed the wind and joined the Bellamy pirates. But now the situation is that they face a powerful and incredible enemy. There is no other way. Let the elephant troops retreat one after another. The rhinoceros troops go up. The head of Drake's army issued a new order. The elephant troops, which had almost collapsed during the battle, finally withdrew. The rhino troops quickly went up. Although these rhinos are not as big as elephants, they can run faster. Like the elephants in the elephant army, these rhinos are equipped with many weapons on their backs. There are also 3 cavalry on the back of each rhino. One is responsible for driving the rhinoceros, and 2 are responsible for handling the weapons. Sanji looked at the attacking rhinos. There are so many enemies. Sanji said. Since you're here, let's fight. Zoro clenched the samurai sword in his hand and said. Everyone is ready to fight. Rog clenched the hand that manipulated the giant wooden hand into a fist and said. The rhinos continued to charge. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Boom 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 boom. Dense bullets, shells, and grenades shot at everyone from the backs of the rhinos. Everyone quickly dodged away. Rog manipulated the giant wooden hand to quickly hit a rhinoceros. But the rhino changed direction just in time. It's a good time to throw a right hook now. Rog used the giant wooden hand to hit the rhino with a huge right hook. Boom. Rogue hit the rhino in the head with a massive right hook. The rhino's powerful impact, coupled with the sharp horns of its head, directly pierced the fist formed by the giant wooden hand. But in this way, the hand of the giant tree can still deal with the opponent. The clenched fist of the giant tree hand suddenly opened and grabbed the rhinoceros. Although the rhino is full of brute force, the giant wooden hand is also powerful, and the giant wooden hand tightly holds the rhino's throat. Fly. Rog manipulated the giant wooden hand to lift up the rhinoceros, and then threw it into the air. Boom. The rhino fell heavily in the distance. After defeating the rhino, Rog continued to control the giant wooden hand to attack the rhinos. Sanji quickly charged and started chasing a rhinoceros. Of course, technically the rhino is chasing Sanji. Sanji used his legs to run quickly, but the rhino behind him kept approaching. This guy runs really fast. Sanji turned his head to look at the rhino. I saw that the rhino was getting closer and closer, and the dangerous sharp horns were always facing forward. Once it was stabbed, it would definitely die. Although the elephants in the previous elephant troop ran fairly fast, their speed was at most that of faster carriages. Now this rhino is as fast as a healthy horse. Regardless of the huge size of the rhinoceros, the strong and short limbs are full of strength when running. Coupled with the terrifying sharp horns on the head, It can be said to be a very menacing weapon. Sanji was being chased by this rhinoceros. The cavalry riding the rhino was very happy to see Sanji running. Humph, hum, hum, continue to speed up, the cavalryman said excitedly. He was always waiting for the moment when the sharp horns of the rhino's head would pierce Sanji's body. Of course, he was also surprised by Sanji's legs. Sanji could run so well. Just relying on a pair of legs is able to run like a healthy horse. Sanji finally couldn't stand it anymore after being chased like this. If that's the case, then I'll do some tricks too, Sanji said. He also always pays attention to the distance between himself and the rhinoceros behind him. The cavalry riding the rhino was suddenly shocked to see Sanji suddenly jump up. His whole body jumped into mid-air, but instead of jumping forward, he jumped in mid-air towards the back. Sanji's jump resolutely landed on the top of the rhinoceros, that is, on top of the cavalryman's head. Sanji put his right foot down and his left foot horizontally, and then quickly spun around. The whole person is like a drill. Skewers. Sanji spun around like a drill. He then smashed down, and his highly rotating right foot finally hit the head of the cavalryman responsible for driving the rhinoceros. Pirate plant fruit. Pirate plant fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 675. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Click. The piercing sound of skull shattering sounded, and the cavalry quickly rolled off the back of the rhinoceros. Sanji fell into the position of controlling the rhinoceros. But at this time there are two cavalry on the back of the rhinoceros responsible for manipulating the grenade gun. Sanji looked at them quickly. The faces of the two cavalrymen immediately turned pale. Roll. Sanji said a word directly, and kicked the two cavalry away with two consecutive kicks. The three cavalry on the back of the rhino were all knocked down. Sanji himself began to drive the rhino. The rhino was still running wildly, but Sanji manipulated the rein to make it change direction. This guy is really wild. Although Sanji worked hard to control it, he still found that this rhinoceros was very difficult to control. These rhinos were transported by the security forces from an island rich in wild animals on the Great Route, and those who can control them are all elite cavalry. Sanji tried his best to steer the rhinoceros, and finally got some general direction. Sanji quickly charged it towards the other rhino. The cavalry on the back of the rhino saw Sanji, and they quickly manipulated a machine gun on the back of the rhino to shoot. Dense bullet beams shot out from the machine gun. Sanji, who is driving the rhino, quickly clings to the rhino's back. The bullets whizzed past him. While running wildly, the rhino finally rushed to the side of the other rhino's body. Puff. The horns on this rhino's head pierced the other rhino's tough skin with astonishing force. At the same time, the huge impact knocked the rhinoceros down. The three cavalrymen on the rhino's back also rolled to the ground. Sanji also quickly jumped up from the back of the rhino because of the huge impact, turned a few somersaults in mid-air, and finally fell to the ground. After Sanji stood up, he looked at the rhinoceros. The sharp horns of the rhinoceros head pierced into the body of another rhinoceros. It appeared that the rhino was mortally wounded, but did not die immediately. The skin of rhinos is very hard, even harder than those of elephants before them. However, under this huge impact and the sharpness of the horns, it can also penetrate the hard skin of the rhinoceros. It's such an unmanageable beast that I'll never try again. Sanji looked at the two rhinos and said. Sanji quickly left the two rhinos and continued fighting. Sauron got into a fierce battle with the rhinoceros. There is a small cannon on the back of this rhinoceros. This cannon is aimed at Sauron and fires. Boom. A shell was fired from the small artillery. Zoro slashed with the katana in his hand and actually cut the cannonball in half. Boom boom boom. The two halves of the shells landed on the ground beside them, and they exploded twice. The cavalryman driving the rhinoceros said in shock, "This swordsman's swordsmanship is really amazing." After dodging the shells, Zoro quickly jumped into the air, clenched his katana with both hands, and clenched the katana in his mouth. Three-sword style violent wind. Sauron killed him with three swords along with his body. The range of this attack is far less than that of a tornado, but its speed and lethality are very powerful. The three cavalrymen on the back of this rhinoceros were all beheaded and fell down. After Sauron successfully beheaded the three cavalrymen on the rhino's back, it landed again. This rhinoceros without cavalry is naturally unmanned and has lost its combat effectiveness. Suddenly, two more rhinos rushed over. These two rhinos rushed towards Sauron, and they were equipped with quadruple heavy-duty rocket launchers on their backs. Emission. Boom boom boom. The quadruple-mounted heavy-duty rocket launchers on the back of each rhino fired a rocket. Zoro did not intercept it with his katana, but quickly dodged it. Boom rumble rumble. The rocket exploded violently, blowing out two large craters on the ground. The power is really not small. Zoro looked at the two big craters that were blown up and said. The cavalry on the rhino's back aimed at Sauron again with the quadruple heavy rocket launcher. Emission. This time, the quadruple-mounted heavy-duty rocket launchers on the backs of the two rhinos fired continuously. 6 rockets were fired at Sauron in succession. Boom 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 boom. A dense barrage of powerful rockets were fired at Sauron. Boom, 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 boom. The area where Sauron was located was covered by violent explosions. Thick smoke enveloped the ground, and even the turf was scorched by this violent explosion. The cavalryman on the back of a rhinoceros observed here and said, "We should kill him." At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed out from the thick smoke of the explosion. 3 swords to kill ghosts. Zoro swung 3 samurai swords and rushed to a rhinoceros. 3 slashes as fast as thunder and lightning continued to kill. Under these 3 slashes, the rhino's neck was severed. On the back of the rhino, the cavalry who was responsible for driving the rhino was beheaded by 2 other swords by the way. The rhino fell. Run for your life. The 2 surviving cavalry quickly ran wildly. Killed one end. Sauron quickly turned his head to look at the other rhino. The quadruple-mounted heavy-duty rocket launcher on the back of the rhinoceros was also quickly loaded by the cavalry. But how could Sauron give them time? Crap. Seeing that the situation was not good, the cavalry on the back of the rhino quickly drove the rhino to escape. But Sauron quickly caught up. Of course, Sauron's running speed is not as fast as that of a rhinoceros. Okay, it's time to try a new move. Zoro quickly retracted the 2 samurai swords he held tightly in both hands into their scabbards, and he took off the yukino held in his mouth. Sauron clenched his hands, ready to strike. 1 sword style and 36 troubled winds. Zoro swung Yuki Nashiro and slashed out with an astonishing sword aura. This sword energy flew towards the rhinoceros at an astonishing speed, much faster than the previous eagle wave. The rhinoceros was hit by the sword energy, and the 3 cavalrymen on its back were all hit by the sword energy. The 3 cavalrymen fell to the ground after being struck by the sword energy. The 36 troubled winds are Sauron's newly acquired powerful sword moves. This is a chopping slash with a katana at a very high speed. It is as powerful as a cannon, as if it is a flying slash. 36 troubled wind killed the 3 cavalrymen on the back of the rhinoceros. The rhino was also injured, and the rhino fell to the ground. Zoro put down his katana after using the 36 troubled winds. Well, isn't it quite powerful? Zoro looked at the killed enemy and said. Pirate plant fruit. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 676. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Sauron then went on to fight the Rhino army. Luffy fully utilized his Rubber Man abilities in this battle. Okay, Rubber Storm. Luffy jumped up and punched out with both fists. Dozens of punches hit 3 horsemen on the back of a rhinoceros. What? The cavalry were hit by Luffy's fist and quickly rolled off the rhino's back. After killing the enemy cavalry on the rhino's back, Luffy attacked another rhino. The cavalry on the back of the rhino fired at Luffy with a grenade gun. Boom 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 boom. Dense grenades were fired at Luffy. Luffy got hit by these grenades. These grenades are grenades with impact explosion fuses, and they explode after hitting Luffy. Boom, 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 boom. Luffy's whole body was enveloped in the explosion. After the violent explosion, Luffy was blown up and fell to the ground. What a blast! Luffy regained his footing and said. The rhinoceros, equipped with a grenade gun, continued to charge towards Luffy. Boom 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 boom. The grenade gun equipped on the rhino's back continued to shoot at Luffy. Luffy's surroundings were covered in thick smoke from the explosion. Naturally, Luffy would not allow the enemy to attack like this. Rubber grappling hook. Luffy stretched out his hands together, quickly grabbed the position on the rhino's back, and then he brought his body over. After Luffy got on the back of the rhino, he began to attack the cavalry here. Dong dong dong. Luffy knocked all 3 cavalrymen away with 3 punches. Then Luffy looked at the rhino. This rhino looks strong, so let's play. Luffy said. Luffy is sitting on the back of the rhino. Rubber reins. Luffy's hand slammed towards the rhino's neck. Luffy's arms lengthened rapidly, and finally his hands came together under the rhino's head, like a giant rubber rein. Control. With a jerk of his arms, Luffy pulled the rhino like a rein. The rhino finally stopped. Luffy steers the rhino into action using the reins formed by his rubber arms. Okay, let's go. Luffy manipulated the rhino and started rampaging on the battlefield. In addition to Rogue and Luffy, Mont Blanc, Man-Ape and Orangutan also fought bravely. Under the fierce fighting of 7 people, a large number of rhinos and cavalry were killed. The leader of the Drakkar army, who was supervising the battle on the battlefield, looked at this tragic battle, and his heart was pounding. What a formidable foe these are! The leader of the Drakkar army said in horror. The 5th army under his command was beaten back steadily under the attack of the 7 of Rog and Sanji. Even a cavalry unit composed of elephants and rhinos is still helpless. Even the head of Drake's army is considering letting the troops retreat quickly. At this moment, suddenly a rhino rushed towards him and the senior officer. What? Drake was shocked to see that Luffy wearing a straw hat was driving the rhino right now. Luffy's hands stretched like a pair of reins to hold the rhino. Go ahead. Luffy shouted while riding the rhino. The rhino continued to run wildly, and finally rushed to the leader of the Drakkar army and the others. At this time, the head of Drake's army and the senior officers were all standing on the ground, unable to dodge at all. Finished. The leader of the Drakkar army finally said these 2 words. Then the rhinoceros controlled by Luffy pierced the sharp horns of its head into his body. Puff. The head of Drake's legion was impaled in the chest by the horns of the rhino's head. The rhino picked up the legion leader with its sharp horns, and then flung it away. The body of the head of the Drakkar army hit the ground more than 10 meters away. There was a huge hole in the chest of his body, and the expression on his face finally froze. The breath of life in those eyes has disappeared, only the fear of the moment before death. The horns of the rhinoceros driven by Luffy are stained with bright red blood. Ah, it seems that I killed a very high-level enemy. Luffy looked at the corpse of the leader of Drake's army and said. The other senior military officers were shocked and terrified when they saw this. Commander Drak was killed in action. Crap. We are dead. The Legion commander is dead, let's retreat quickly. As soon as the leader of the Drakkar army died, the Fifth Army suddenly lost its morale. The news spread quickly, and the Fifth Army began to flee. Originally, this high-mobility force, which used large land creatures as its combat weapons, collapsed rapidly because of the sudden attack and the death of its commander. Rog and Sauron, who were in the middle of a fierce battle, discovered that the officers and soldiers of the Fifth Legion began to lose speed. Less than people were wiped out before and after the battle that just took place, and the Fifth Army had a full people. The loss was not even a quarter, but the troops of the Fifth Army suffered an astonishing defeat. What the hell is going on? Sauron said in surprise. They were so defeated. Rog observed these defeated enemies and said, "Did we win?" Sanji looked at the defeated enemy army and said, "How could they be like this?" Mont Blanc said in confusion. The apes and orangutans were also surprised why the Fifth Army was still defeated despite having a huge numerical advantage. And Luffy, who was the person involved in killing the leader of the Drakkar army, was still riding on the back of the rhino with a blank face. "Wow, why did they all escape?" Luffy said strangely. In fact, even if the leader of the Drake Legion himself did not die in battle, the Fifth Army would still be defeated. After all, when the officers and soldiers of the Fifth Legion fought Rog and Sanji, they were about to collapse. The Fifth Army has been completely defeated. Moreover, these defeated officers and soldiers fled to the city in order to escape for their lives, and many of them changed their military uniforms. After such a bloody battle, very few of them are willing to continue working hard. Because none of them has not seen the strength of the enemy. The battle ended victoriously with 7 destroying the Fifth Army. The Fifth Army of the Security Army, which possessed elephants, rhinos, light and heavy artillery, and a large number of advanced weapons and equipment, was completely destroyed. Rog, Sauron, and the others walked on the dilapidated camp of the Fifth Army. After the fierce battle, there were corpses everywhere, and the houses and tents in those camps were also seriously damaged. However, many are still intact. The orangutan and the orangutan walked into a solid wooden house. There is a large amount of food and supplies stored in this house. Pirate plant fruit. Pirate plant fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 677. You can search for pirate plant fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Look, these are high-quality flour. The orangutan excitedly picked up a bag of flour and said, "There are still a lot of tin cans here." The orangutan found a group of cans in a box. This house is a warehouse for storing daily necessities. There are many bags and wooden boxes stored inside, filled with food and supplies. "Hey, orangutan. How about we give the supplies here to our brothers?" The ape said to the orangutan. "Okay, the supplies here will belong to the Ape Mountain United Army in the future," said the orangutan. After the orangutans counted the food and supplies in the warehouse, they went out to report the situation to Mont Blanc and others. The orangutan walked up to Mont Blanc and said to him, "Boss, we found a warehouse. There is an amazing amount of food and supplies in the warehouse." When Mont Blanc heard this, he immediately said excitedly, "Okay. I'll go check out this warehouse too." Rog and Sanji continued to observe and move around the camp. The two arrived next to a warehouse, where they found a large number of guns. There are machine guns, rifles, submachine guns, shotguns, and some grenade guns and rocket launchers. It's really an arsenal, and this place must belong to the Ape Mountain United Army. Sanji said. The harvest of this battle is really great. Rog said with emotion. In addition, others have discovered a lot of various military supplies of the Fifth Army. These weapons can naturally be used by the Ape Mountain United Army. Then the brigade of the Yuanshan United Army came to the eastern outskirts of Magic Valley City. In the camp of the former 5th Army here, the Ape Mountain United Army collected the weapons and supplies of the 5th Army. The weapons and supplies left by the 5th Army were enough to turn this team of less than people into a well-equipped force. In the original camp of the 5th Army, Mont Blancolik and the members of the Ape Mountain United Army had a pleasant meal and drink. Roger and Sanji were also having lunch on the sidelines. The fierce battle in the morning made everyone hungry and thirsty. Now this lunch has made everyone relax a lot. We worked hard to eat and drink, and in the afternoon, we all went to the headquarters of the security forces and security forces. Mont Blanc said loudly and happily. It is good. Many younger brothers from the Ape Mountain United Army shouted in unison. After defeating the 5th Legion, all that remains is to take down the security army headquarters. By the way, the headquarters of the guard force will also be removed. Mont Blanc is very clear about the principle of pursuing victory. Rog and Saran also had lunch on the side, and from time to time they talked with Mont Blanc, the apes and the orangutans. You also want to take down the security army headquarters and the security force headquarters. Do you need our help? Usopp asked. No, there's no need. You guys have been so helpful. So let's just do it ourselves. Mont Blanc said kindly. Usopp immediately looked disappointed. It's such a pity, otherwise Captain Usopp will show his ability to defeat 100. Usopp said regretfully. Usopp, you are so powerful. Chopper asked Usopp in surprise. Of course. Usopp talked endlessly about his great adventures. Mont Blanc looked at Rog and the others and said, your help has allowed us to win so quickly. I am really grateful. But please leave it to us to deal with the security army headquarters and the security force headquarters. Those minions, it's not worth asking you to take action. Ha ha ha. No problem. Roger and Sanji said. This lunch continues. When the time came in the afternoon, Mont Blancolik led the troops of the Ape Mountain United Army and began to go to the Magic Valley City area to capture the security army headquarters and the guard force headquarters. The well-equipped Yuanshan United Army troops of nearly people marched towards the urban area of Demon Valley City. The Security Army headquarters building in Demon Valley City. The senior officers in the headquarters building all learned the news that the 5th Army Corps had been defeated. What's more, even the head of Drog's army was killed, which was a devastating blow to the security forces. After Grandet's death, a total of people, including the 5th Legion, were conquered by the Bellamy pirates. However, the only elite 5th Army Corps that had retained its organizational structure was defeated in the blink of an eye, and the remaining troops were unable to undertake combat tasks at all. It can be said that the security forces have failed. In this headquarters building, a group of senior military officers gathered in the meeting room, and their faces were very solemn. It's really bad. I thought that after joining the Bellamy pirates, I would be able to have a good life. Now we have another crisis. The enemy is still too strong. What are we going to do in the future? Could it be that Bellamy and the others gave the order and we have to continue to die? The situation is as bad as it gets. Many senior military officers lamented one after another. In particular, the death of Drock, commander of the 5th Army Corps, was a complete blow to the security forces. After the original security forces were subdued by Bellamy's forces, the head of Drock's army also served as the commander of the security forces. But now that the leader of the Drocker army has died, coupled with the destruction of the 5th Army, the remaining security forces can be said to exist in name only. The last stronghold in their hands is probably the security force headquarters building. Boom, 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 boom. Intensive gunshots and explosions sounded. What happened? Where the fighting happened? Look, it's near the headquarters building. The senior officers of the security force in the conference room went to the window next to the conference room to look outside. I saw an extremely fierce battle taking place near the headquarters building. Suddenly an officer rushed into the meeting room. "Urgent report that the Saruyama United Army is coming," the officer said urgently. "What?" These senior officers were all shocked. Outside the security army headquarters building, Mont Blanc and Orangutan together led soldiers of the Ape Mountain United Army to charge hard. Slay the rush. Mont Blanc was at the front in person. "Kill them!" the orangutan shouted loudly. Under their leadership, the soldiers of the Ape Mountain United Army became more and more heroic, and they charged swiftly with light and heavy weapons. The officers and soldiers of the security forces tried their best to resist, but they couldn't stop these wolves like tigers. Soon, with fierce attacks all the way, Mont Blanc and the orangutan led the soldiers of the Ape Mountain United Army to attack the gate of the security army headquarters building. Pirate Plant Fruit. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 678. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Okay, this is the gate. After breaking in here, we have completely conquered the headquarters building of the security force. Mont Blanc said with great confidence. Okay, work harder. Completely destroy the vigilante. The orangutan said with high spirits. Behind the two men, many soldiers of the Saruyama United Army also gripped their guns and sabers in preparation for the final charge. Just when Mont Blanc was about to issue an order, suddenly, there was a sound, and the door of the security force headquarters building was opened. Dozens of senior military officers were seen coming out of it. These senior officers raised their hands in a gesture of surrender. The leader was holding a white flag high. "Everyone from the Saruyama United Army, we are willing to surrender," the senior officers shouted together. Mont Blanc and the ape looked at these people and then looked at each other. "It seems that we have won," Mont Blanc said with a smile. "Great," Man Ape said excitedly. "Long live." Many soldiers of the Ape Mountain United Army cheered happily. The battle finally ended with a great victory for the Ape Mountain Allied forces. Mont Blanc stepped forward to accept the surrender of the remnants of the vigilantes. He saw a look of fear in the eyes of these senior officers of the security force. But these senior officers of the security army saw that Mont Blanc had the high-spirited aura of a winner on his face. "Don't worry, if you are willing to surrender, then we will resolutely safeguard your rights. All members of the security forces who surrender will be treated kindly," Mont Blanc said in a rich voice. The Saras Mountain Allied Army soldiers led by Mont Blanc and Orangutan successfully captured the security army headquarters building. This marks the complete annihilation of the powerful security forces that have been rampant in Magic Valley City for many years. Just when Mont Blanc and the apes had achieved a complete victory. On the other side, the orangutan led more than 100 Aruyama United Army soldiers to attack the guard headquarters building. The more than Sarushan United Army soldiers who had absorbed the advanced equipment of the 5th Army were unstoppable and soon attacked the base of the guard headquarters building. "Okay, brothers. Prepare for a general attack," the orangutan said to the more than 100 Aruyama United Army soldiers behind him. "In front of you is the guard force headquarters building." At this moment, a loud voice suddenly came from the windows of the security force headquarters building. "Commanders of the warrior guard forces of the Saruyama United Army hereby ask you to suspend the offensive. We are willing to negotiate surrender." At this moment the commander of the guards spoke through a loudspeaker from a window of the building. The orangutan in front of the security force headquarters building was also excited when he heard the news. "Ha ha ha, they surrendered," the orangutan said excitedly. "Deputy Commander Orangutan, are they pretending to surrender?" a soldier on the side asked. "Don't worry, I will go forward to negotiate with them first. You continue to be vigilant at the back. I don't think they dare to cheat. The orangutan put down the gun in his hand and walked forward. The gate of the security headquarters building was also opened, and a large number of officers and soldiers came out with their hands raised. One of the commanders of the guards, wearing a military overcoat, came in person to the orangutans. I am the commander of the security forces. Now please let us negotiate. The commander of the guard force first said after saluting with his hands. Okay, let's do it, said the orangutan. The two sides negotiated for a while. Of course the guard troops quickly surrendered. After the security forces, the guard force, the second largest armed organization in Demon Valley City, also surrendered. Among the former Grandet forces that Bellamy's forces conquered, the security forces and security forces were the most important. With the fall of these two major armed forces, the Bellamy pirates' power in Magic Valley City quickly disappeared. Mont Blanc and the Sarushan United Army quickly took over the Demon Valley City. Moreover, some prestigious people among the local people were elected as temporary administrators, and a large number of temporary administrators began to carry out emergency management of Magic Valley City. The actions and propaganda of the Yuanshan United Army have played a major role in their heroic resistance over the years. Now most of the people in Magic Valley City are willing to accept the protection of the Yuanshan United Army, and some speculative forces also accept it. A reef island in the northeast waters of Gaia Island. Inside this fortified castle on the island that served as the base camp of the Bellamy pirates. In the conference room, Bellamy, Rebus, and Sakis learned of the sudden change in the situation in Demon Valley City. Hateful. Bellamy was so angry that she punched the table in front of her hard. Due to the huge force, even the table was shattered with a large crack. In the conference room, Rebus, Sax, and Eddie will stand at the front. Others such as Monty, Muley, etc. stood further back. Now everyone has complicated expressions. Both the security forces and the security forces were destroyed, and the Magic Valley City was completely in the hands of the Yuanshan United Army. It absolutely cannot end like this, Bellamy said through gritted teeth. Bellamy was very angry. Originally, after Grandet's death, the Bellamy pirates took advantage of the situation to seize the dominance of Magic Valley City. But after paying a huge price, it was still controlled by the Aruyama United Army. This made Bellamy unable to swallow this breath. Okay, Boss Bellamy, let's kill the enemy, Rebus also said indignantly. Bellamy looked at Rebus and said, okay, then Rebus. I'll leave it to you first. But you'd better send troops to investigate first, and then consider attacking. Rebus said, okay, I will send guard no there. Then Rebus left here. Rebus left the castle and went to the pier on the reef island. Although the dock is not very large, it is large enough to accommodate several large warships. The Bellamy Pirates flagship, the new Vicky Bello, as well as Guard 1 and Guard 2 are here. Of course, it also includes Guard No, who was urgently repaired. Rebus walked to the mooring position of Guard No, where he observed the heavy warship that was urgently repaired. The heavily damaged bow part of the Sentinel-3 was urgently repaired. As an advanced heavy warship with powerful firepower, Guard 3 needs to return to Dressrosa's arsenal for repairs before it can be truly repaired. However, the battle situation is urgent, and this heavy warship cannot be allowed to go to Dressrosa's arsenal again. After all, the journey would be too long in that case. The current situation is urgent and there is no room for the transfer of important combat forces. Fortunately, the Bellamy Pirates also recruited a group of elite shipwrights, who were able to carry out emergency repairs on this heavy warship. Pirate Plant Fruit. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 679. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Near the bow of the heavy warship Gardno, steel plates were urgently installed. Of course, even so, the defense of the bow is greatly reduced compared to the previous intact state, which makes this warship need to be cautious in use. Rebus stood beside Gardno, and a crew member came over immediately. "Lord Rebus, you are here," the crew member said. "Well, the restoration of Gardno is still very fast." Rebus looked at the heavy warship. The damaged parts near the bow of Gardno are all made of very hard steel plates. Although it is not as good as the repairs in the authentic arsenal, our shipwrights have done their best," the crew member explained seriously. Rebus continued to observe the situation near the bow of Gardno. Gardno was seriously damaged in the port battle. Later, it was towed back to the reef island by the new Vicky Bello. Gardno has undergone such emergency repairs. Although the repairs are barely complete, the damaged parts near the bow are still in great danger. Once engaged, it is easy to be attacked and destroyed here. Thank you for your hard work. Can we do it again now? Rebus asked. Yes. Gardno can now go into battle at any time, the crew member explained. Rebus nodded and said, "Okay, then let Gardno start patrolling near the port of Demon Valley City tomorrow. Anyway, the enemy's giant offshore dock has been sunk, so we have nothing to be afraid of." Yes, the crew member said. Rebus continued to look at Gardno. Gardno was killed in the previous battle, but luckily Gardno survived. Rebus looked at his left hand again. The wrist of his left hand was originally empty. The previous battle caused Rebus to lose his left hand. The burly man's face became gloomy. "Although I lost my left hand, my right hand can still put you to death," Rebus said viciously. The time went from night to morning of the next day. Under the clear sky, Magic Valley City looked very prosperous. This huge transit port city is filled with buildings of various styles. Because it has served as a transit port for a long time, businessmen from all over the world do business here. Many merchants settled here, which in turn led to the buildings here with styles from many different regions. This morning, there was a returning merchant fleet. More than 20 large merchant ships raised their giant sails and docked at the port area of Demon Valley City. On the deck of one of the leading merchant ships, a capable man in a blue suit stood here. He is the chairman of the shipping company, one of the 4 major industrial cadres of the former Grandet forces. The majestic chairman of the shipping company stood on the deck of the merchant ship, and he looked towards the port of Magic Valley City. The merchant fleet he led was sent to Alabasta when Grandet was alive. In the desert country that had gone through a long war, they bought a large number of antiques. These antiques can be sold for astonishing prices after being unlucky. These more than 20 merchant ships were filled with antiques purchased from Alabasta and transported back to Magic Valley City on Gaia Island. At this time, the chairman of the shipping company standing on the deck of the merchant ship looked at the long-lost port of Magic Valley City. The port of Magic Valley City and the nearby coastal areas were severely damaged. Apparently there was heavy fighting here. How could this happen? The president of the shipping company said in surprise. He and the crew on the merchant ships all looked towards the port of Magic Valley City and the nearby coast. There is a lot of rubble in this area, which is the debris caused by the explosion after the fortifications were destroyed by heavy artillery shells. Just from these broken walls and ruins, it can be seen how fierce the battle took place here. What's even more surprising is that there is a huge sunken ship in the waters at the port of Magic Valley City. Part of the shipwreck is still out of sea. That is the super turret of the giant sea dock. How could this happen? The president of the shipping company said in surprise. He knew very well that what sank in the waters of the port in front of him was the giant offshore dock that had shaken the sea near Gaia Island. This giant maritime dock that is said to be unsinkable actually sank, and it also sank here at the port of Magic Valley City. Combined with the destroyed fortifications in the port and the nearby coast, the chairman of the shipping company determined that this was caused by the tragic battle. But he didn't know that those destroyed fortifications were indeed bombarded by giant sea docks. But the giant sea dock was not sunk by the security forces, but the fleet of the Bellamy pirates. The giant offshore dock actually sank here. The president of the shipping company said with emotion. The other crew members were also very shocked. Isn't this a giant offshore dock? Yes, that's the big guy from the Iruyama United Army. How could it sink here? It looks like there's been a big fight going on here. It's unbelievable. Terrible. This giant sea dock sank here, which surprised everyone who saw it. The president of the shipping company directs the merchant ships to avoid the sunken waters of the giant offshore dock. Although the previous series of battles severely damaged the port area of Demon Valley City, there are still quite a number of docks that are well preserved. It can also supply a large number of commercial ships to berth. Even this fleet of more than large merchant ships can be berthed. After all, Magic Valley City has accumulated a large amount of infrastructure as a transit port for more than 200 years. The chairman of the shipping company ordered the merchant ships to berth at the intact docks. After they moored at these piers, they began to take the ladder from the merchant ship to the dock, and then the chairman of the shipping company and the crew members walked down one after another. Stepping on the ground of the pier, the shipping company looked around. This area is relatively intact, and a person led some guard-like people over. The visitor saw the president of the shipping company and said, "Okay, sir. You are anchored here, please register." The chairman of the shipping company seemed to remember something after looking at each other closely. "Here, aren't you old John, a famous philanthropic businessman in Magic Valley City?" The chairman of the shipping company said to the other party. "Ah, I recognize you too. You are the chairman of the shipping company. You manage the largest shipping company in Magic Valley City." The middle-aged man called Old John said. The chairman of the shipping company has lived and worked in Magic Valley City for many years, and he knows many local celebrities. This middle-aged man called Old John is a well-known local philanthropic businessman. He often uses the profits from his business to support some people who live in poverty. Pirate Plant Fruit. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 680. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. But he couldn't believe that Granddad would hire such a person. You must know that Granddad, who is good at calculating, will never use such a person to serve him. Old John also saw the doubts of the shipping company president, and he explained, "This is really a long story." The president of the shipping company then asked, "Mayor Granddad will order you to serve as a port official." Old John shook his head and said, "Of course not, and Mayor Granddad is already dead." The chairman of the shipping company said in shock, "What?" Old John continued, "Mayor Granddad died in the battle with the Sarushan United Army, and the security forces were destroyed. Because of this, his rule also ended. Now the people of the Sarushan United Army have taken control of the city." Old John patiently told the president of the shipping company about the matter. Moreover, he is very calm. If it were someone else, he would have been elated because of his hatred for Granddad. The chairman of the shipping company nodded after hearing this and said, "So that's what it is." Old John asked again, "I have also seen your shipping company's information, which shows that you went to Alabasta to do business before. But I didn't expect that things would turn out like this after you came back." The chairman of the shipping company nodded and said, "I really didn't expect it to turn out like this." Old John suddenly said, "Since you are going to Alabasta to do business, you are probably going to get some local specialties." The shipping company glanced at the merchant ships behind them and said to Old John, "Ah, yes. Strictly speaking, we are bringing back a lot of antiques." Old John looked at these merchant ships and said, "Antiques, it's great to be able to bring these things back. And I have to explain something to you. The chairman of the shipping company suddenly became serious when he saw old John's expression. He asked what happened. Old John said with a serious face, "The shipping company has actually become the public property of all residents of Magic Valley City. After all, after Granddad's death, the industry he established through exploitation and monopoly during his lifetime was taken back into public ownership." The president of the shipping company was speechless. He looked at old John and asked, "So that's how it is? Then our current master is no longer Granddad?" Old John suddenly softened his tone again and said, "But don't worry about your safety. After all, the people in the economic industry are not at fault, they were just hired by Granddad. From now on, you can continue to work in the shipping company." The expression of the chairman of the shipping company also became a little more relaxed. He originally thought that anyone who had served Granddad before would be implicated. The chairman of the shipping company asked again, "Since this is the case, then I would like to ask. In addition to the Sarushan Allied forces defeating Granddad, is there anything else that happened in Demon Valley City?" Old John said, "Other things. After Granddad's death, Bellamy tried to take the opportunity to seize the leadership of Demon Valley City. But he was defeated by the Ape Mountain United Army." The chairman of the shipping company took another look at the giant offshore dock in the port waters, and asked, "But the giant offshore dock of the Sarushan United Army has also sunk. They are also victorious like this?" Old John shook his head and said, "That's not the case. The Sarushan Allied forces defeated the Granddad forces. But this giant offshore dock was sunk when it fought with the Bellamy forces later." The president of the shipping company looked at old John and said, "That's it? The pirate group that has been dormant on the northeastern reef island of Gaia Island all year round is terrifyingly powerful." The president of the shipping company has also heard about the strength of the Bellamy pirates. He didn't expect that the Bellamy pirates would come to participate in the battle when the Aruyama United Army defeated the Granddad forces. The chairman of the shipping company added, "Then the Saruyama Alliance will continue to fight the Bellamy pirates." Old John said, "Before, the Sarushan United Army only controlled the Demon Valley City, but the Bellamy pirates are still the main force. The two sides will continue to fight." The chairman of the shipping company said, "So that's what it is." After such a conversation, the chairman of the shipping company also understood the general situation. Old John said, "It is precisely because of the existence of the Ape Mountain United Army that the people of Magic Valley City elected some of our temporary administrators. So I became the management official of the port here because of everyone's recommendation." The chairman of the shipping company said, "That's it?" Old John said again, "Okay, you can take down the goods. Please also register them in detail." The president of the shipping company said okay. He waved to the crew members around him and said, "Please transport those antiques down, and be careful." These crew members then began to move out boxes of antiques from various merchant ships and send them to the dock through the ladders they built. These antiques were transported to the pier to be registered and counted in turn. At the same time, on the streets close to the port area of Magic Valley City, Usopp is shopping with Chopper and Luffy. The three of them were talking and laughing while shopping. Of course, the dazzling array of goods in the shops on both sides of the street, especially food, are often things that the three of them are willing to spend in their pockets. "Wow, looks so delicious." Chopper stopped in front of a candy store, and he had a cute expression on his face, facing a giant lollipop. This lollipop is a disc-shaped spiral lollipop with rainbow-like colors inside. Because of its excellent workmanship, it looks like a rainbow that can be eaten. Not only Chopper, but also Usopp and Luffy's eyes were attracted by this visually attractive wave lollipop. The three seemed to be able to eat this delicious candy with their eyes. "How about kids, do you want one? This is our store's most signature 7-color rainbow wave candy." The owner of the confectionery shop is smiling. Chopper instantly became embarrassed. "Really, you actually called me kid?" Chopper twitched, feeling very embarrassed. Luffy looked at these 7-color rainbow wave candies with great envy and said, I want them too. Usopp looked at these wave candies that looked like rainbows blooming in 7 colors, and said, let me have one too. The three of them quickly took out their money and bought 5 rainbow-like wave candies. Among them, Chopper has 2, Luffy has 2, and Usopp has 1. Delicious, really delicious. Chopper grabbed a lollipop with both hooves, licked the left one, and then licked the right one. Delicious, really delicious. Luffy stuffed 2 wave candies into his mouth in one breath, stretching his mouth wide. Only 2 sticks were left exposed. Pirate plant fruit.